Good morning and welcome back to the Pike Homestead. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video because I'm just going to sit here and talk at you about our journey, essentially, and with our diet. So some of you may know that we have been vegan for a while now. It has been 5 years that we have been vegan, minus the last 6 months. And our goal for this farm was to prove that you can be vegan and fully sustainable on your property. It's a hard thing to do, but we were up for the challenge and believed in it fully. However, our journey has taken a different path and we need to change our diet, and have found that bringing meat back into our diet has been the right move for our family and for our health. So please come along with me while I share our journey as a mostly whole food vegan that went vegan for health, animals, and environment, and what led us to becoming an ex-vegan. And yes, I want to preface this with, yes, we ate nutritionally sound. We had our doctor's approval. They had no concerns with our diet. All medical things that I went through and blood tests and stuff came back fine. We made sure we took vitamins of B12, omegas, and multivitamins, as well as other vitamins as we needed them. And we made sure we followed a properly nutritional diet. Was it made by a nutritionist? No. But we did follow the guidelines and make sure we hit all the macros and everything that we needed. And we did use Chronometer to help with that. Could it have been perfected a little further? Probably. Were we going to go down that route to try and find what possibly might have been missing in our diet? No, because at this point we had done everything we could. We also live in the middle of cow country in Alberta, and I thought it would be really hard to find vegan food here, and it is not. Is it as in your face and everywhere accessible with so many different varieties as you can get in the city of Vancouver or Edmonton, for example? No, by no means is it anywhere as diverse. We can't go to restaurants or anything here, but that's a good thing for my budget. But we can go to the grocery store and pick up burgers and ham and tofu and all those things, nooch, all that stuff. So no problem. And anything else we can't get, Amazon will deliver. So if you are still with me and you're interested in the health issues we had after being vegan for 5 years, I want to say thank you for listening, and please keep the comments clean and don't spout the ever so common "you did it wrong" or "you were never vegan" comments, because they're not true. But know that we are happy to share our journey, as this information I feel is important to share because it is really hard to find on the internet. And you really have to dig through it, because most of the ex-vegan videos are because somebody was trying raw vegan, and then they're trying some sort of fasting, then they're trying some water fast, and they're trying juice cleanses, and then they're trying vegans, and then they're trying whole foods, and then they were doing this. And they tried so many things in such a short period of time, whereas we strictly started vegan and became more and more whole foods as we went. And we did everything in our power as we could to make sure we were getting all the nutrients we did. So with no further ado, let's get into this. So why did we go vegan? So my vegan journey started after the birth of my son. While I was pregnant with him in 2011, I could not eat meat. After it would just make me gag. After he was born, of course, we were eating meat then, we all were. But this kind of triggered me into a health journey to want to lose weight and be healthy for my son, so I could have a long life with him and see him grow up. So we researched a lot of things. I went down the path of MLMs and did shakes and health patches, all those stupid things. And they did not work, and I knew these were not long-term, so we started looking at things and directed towards Mediterranean diet and more meatless Mondays and eating less meat, and started watching videos along the lines of Cowspiracy and What the Health and all those videos. I swear everybody should watch those documentaries to get a idea of how bad the animal industry can be. So definitely recommend that. And yeah, so we kind of started that journey. By the time my son was 5, myself and my son went vegan full time. And we kind of just went, great, okay, we're not eating it anymore. At this point, we were just eating chicken and eggs with the occasional bacon. My husband would eat vegan when he was home with us. But otherwise, for breakfast, he had whatever he wanted. And for lunch, he had whatever he wanted because he made that and cooked that himself. But dinners were definitely vegan. And then for myself and Harrison, then we were vegan fully at that point. 2017 came around and I was pregnant with my second baby. Again, my husband was not vegan at this time. And during this time, I could not eat salad with her, which I found hilarious. So we had takeout and I would have like salmon or like a side of like, I don't know, stir fry or something with beef or chicken or something in it. So I did eat meat while I was pregnant with her. After she was born, I could eat salad without gagging and vegetables without gagging as much. So therefore, went straight back to being vegan again. My son stayed vegan the whole time, maybe with the occasional thing he would have. And then after my daughter was born, my husband, so Adam, became vegan as well after watching some more documentaries. I think the one that kind of pushed him was What the Health? I think it was that one. Or Game Changers. It might have been Game Changers that came out at that time. But anyway, he did his own little research and decided that that would probably be best for him as well. So we went vegan and had no problems with that. But at this point, I was getting better at cooking vegan food. We were more nutritionally sound at this point, and we had a really good handle on it at this point. So it was a nice, easy transition for him. He didn't have to go through all the learning curves I went through in the beginning. And we remained vegan for 5 years. In that time, my second daughter was born in 2020. I remained vegan the whole of her pregnancy, which was fantastic. And this really kind of told me that it was going well and everything was fine. But of course, when she was born in April, was right smack in the middle of COVID. And we had some home stresses and COVID stresses, and Adam had some job stresses, and at this point, we were vegan for 3.5 years officially together as a family. Obviously, we had another. It would have probably been about 8 years of a journey for me and Harrison, honestly. Anyways, we had a lot going on, and at this point, I was feeling a little groggy. My husband was feeling groggy. He was feeling depressed. He didn't want to go back to work. He was really struggling with anxiety around that. And we had a lot of just stress and tiredness. And we put it down to COVID, our children, our life, and the stresses, and we moved. We took the jump and said we need to make a change, and we made our change to move to Alberta, which was kind of always our end goal. We just made it happen sooner, and we were happy with the move, and everything went really well, and it led us to the farm we're at now. Okay, still with me? All right, so while we were here and everything started to balance back out with our life, and we could no longer kind of really say life was our issues and stresses, I started to find that my work, I wasn't able to concentrate as well. I'd have brain fog. I kind of brought it up to Adam. I was like, do you feel kind of spacey? Do you feel like you're maybe not able to concentrate on things as well? Like there's things that I'm really passionate about that I just don't have the energy to or brain power to actually focus on. And he mentioned that, yeah, he had some of that, maybe not to the same degree that I did, but yeah, it was definitely there. So at this point, he's going through his own kind of mental health issues as well. And he's saying, you know what, it would be really nice if my brain wasn't so stuck that I could actually think things through. So I did some research into brain fog and what's kind of needed. Obviously, things like more oils from nuts and things like more omegas and making sure you're getting those while we were. So just make sure we had more nuts on hand and that we were keeping our oils up in our diet. So I just kind of reevaluated and made sure everything was fine. At this point, we had chickens, and they obviously produce eggs because that's what chickens do. But we would feed these back to our chickens because our chickens were here on our farm to help make our soil better and to eat all the bugs that are around. So our chickens free range. They go across the whole 25 acres as much as they want. They can come and go as they please. And everything was great. And I was making breakfast one day with my tofu and egg sauce that I make with like nooch and lemon and black salt and milk and a splash of oil and my tofu, obviously, that I fry. And then that makes our vegan egg for breakfast. And it was everybody's favorite. We all loved it. We still do. It's still really tasty. But I started looking, it was nagging at me about these eggs being on the counter and that maybe why am I shipping tofu from Vancouver? And yes, I know there's a tofu place in Edmonton that is more local, but most of the ones in the supermarket comes from like Vancouver. And why am I getting black salt from India and nooch from wherever the frick nooch comes from, and flour and milk and from almond trees that definitely don't grow here as well as like California. So why am I using so many environmental resources to make my vegan egg when I have an egg on my counter? And I was like, well, okay, so is that enough of a reason for me to eat the egg? So I did a whole bunch of research. Is there a nutritional difference? I wanted to make sure what I was eating was just as nutritionally dense as a regular egg. So I would kind of work into that. But it just kept nagging at me. And even though my vegan version versus egg version was not that different, there was, of course, still some slight change differences in the nutritional value and how those all kind of work in your body. So I had also found other vegans that when they added eggs into their diet and became just vegetarian with eggs, this solved a lot of their brain problems and brain fog, and everything was good. So I was like, okay, great, we'll just try it. So after months of digging into that and talking together as a family, we decided to add our eggs back into the diet. Now, we only added our eggs back into our diet. We did not buy any store-bought eggs. We still don't. We do not plan to ever because it is so bad for the chickens. We added these eggs in and I gave an egg to my 2-year-old and she was ecstatic and ate 3 that day. And ecstatic, sorry, I just laughed at my own pun joke. And she has been egg obsessed ever since and has loved it. And it kind of made me question, like, oh, was she missing something? Like, she breastfeeds, she eats her meals, like she's 2. Like, what could she possibly be missing? She's growing, she's healthy, she's smart, she's kind. Like, what is she missing in her diet? But with her intensity of how much she liked the eggs, this really kind of stood out to me. My middle daughter had no interest in eating eggs and continues with the tofu, and my oldest child, as well as ourselves, ate the eggs, and it was a mental hurdle. It was really hard to put those eggs on the plate and actually eat them. After some just mental hurdles of trying to reposition why we're eating them, it wasn't a problem anymore. And I would say that was the biggest hurdle of our whole journey, really, was getting those eggs into our diet and just making that change after 5 years. But the way we get our eggs from our own backyard chickens or backyard farm chickens that have free range to 25 acres and that we still feed the eggs and the shells back to them other than the ones that we eat, then we definitely had no reason not to. The chickens lay the eggs regardless. We don't force them to lay eggs. If they lay 2 eggs one day, they lay 2 eggs one day. If they lay 50 eggs, they lay 50 eggs. Though we don't have that many chickens. But you get my point. But we set a hard rule of no, we're not buying factory store-bought eggs. We will just eat our backyard chicken eggs. And within a couple of days, our brain fog was lifted. I could focus on my projects. I could better communicate. I could better understand what the problems were we were trying to fix and actually work on them. And it was a huge difference just within a couple of days of adding eggs back to our diet. There's still times where the flavor is a little strong for me because our eggs have a lot of flavor. But the difference it makes to my brain function and my husband's brain function, and that was huge. And we're like, great, this works. So we are now plant-based, I guess, because we added eggs back into our diet. So that's how we stayed for the next 6-7 months. And we didn't really think too much of it after that. We're like, great, we're going to be vegan, but we add eggs. So, but they're from our own backyard chickens. We're still vegan everywhere else. So we're still, in our eyes, we're still pretty much vegan, although we tell everybody we're plant-based to save the argument. The thing we noticed was that we still had other health issues. And again, we would make excuses. Well, I'm tired because I have 3 children and a farm and a husband that's depressed. And he would be cranky because he obviously just had health problems. It was his diabetes, or it was his just age, or just he's just broken. And my kids were grumpy and they were not that enthused to do anything, and I figured they were just lazy. Or my son becoming almost 11, he's becoming a teenager, so of course they sleep all day and they don't do anything, right? So I had excuses for everything. I had body pain that was terrible. I couldn't get out of bed without pain. I couldn't roll over in bed without pain. My feet hurt so much. We went into a whole spiral at one point long before we added eggs in, and with my foot pain, and found that grounding may be a solution. So we had got grounding sheets for our beds, and I'd make sure I would be barefoot outside. I had barefoot shoes, all these things. It helped. It didn't solve the problem. And yeah, we just put it down to our environment changing. You know, there's new pollens here. There's new this here. There's new air. We're out in the country now. The less pollution. Maybe our body's adjusting. Anything like that. We had an excuse for all of it. Anyway, fast forward. I did more and more research and really dug for long-term vegan, ex-vegan videos. And I'll link some in the description below. And I looked for articles on mental health, and I didn't really think about my own problems because I was overweight. I was the heaviest I'd ever been, and I just put it down to that. I'm fat, I'm overweight, I'm 220 pounds, 25 pounds. Like, of course, I hurt when I move. I'm not supposed to be that weight at 5'3". So, I was researching mostly for my husband to see if it would help with his mental issues after seeing what the eggs did for our brain fog. Many people kind of mention mental health and mental issues and feeling that kind of underlining dread and anxiety that for no real reason. And I also felt that. I kind of put it down to also like the Ukrainian war that's on right now, because we have Ukrainian heritage, and we had family friends that were there, and that was stressful. So I had that kind of looming over me, and trying to figure out how we would be sustainable if the war ended and came to Canada, and what we would do with that. So I just kind of put that down to there. My husband, however, this was an ongoing thing. So anyway, after all the digging and research, it concluded that maybe we should add meat back into our diet and see if it makes a difference. We were not hopeful that it would make a difference. We did not think it would, but we wanted to give it a 2-month trial to get over that placebo effect of the first few weeks that would just make you feel great because you've changed your diet and because of that. So we wanted to really work it out. So we added meat back in, and it was pretty much instantly within 24 to 48 hours, everybody was feeling so much better. I woke up in the morning and realized I got out of bed without pain. My feet didn't hurt. I could walk properly. I could get in and out of bed. Had energy to play with my children. Adam was no longer super depressed. If something triggered him, he wouldn't be useless for a week or a couple of days because a child made him angry or because he dropped something he shouldn't have or whatever. And it made such a big difference. We were actually kind of shocked because we were not expecting it. And so we researched more into it and kind of looked at other people's experiences and found that it seems to be true for those that are vegan 5 to 10 years. You kind of start to see these health problems, and you put it down to other things. I'm tired because I have kids, or I'm working too long, or my brain's not working because I'm up too late, or whatever the reason is, there is an excuse. And you've got to realize that if you start making excuses for why you feel the way you do, that maybe there is something more to it if your diet is missing something. And like I said, we made sure all our nutrient goals were made, and we took supplements to also make sure we got the B12 and everything we needed as well. And as far as us, our lab results and doctors were concerned, nothing was wrong. They had no concerns. We had no concerns. But obviously something was missing that you can't get, that meat can bring to your diet. So that said, we've now, obviously we started and we just bought supermarket meat. That was never our intention to keep doing that. It was just while we tried it out. And now we are locally sourcing or trying to locally source all of our food. Our chicken next year is going to come strictly from our farm. We are going to grow our own meat birds. Same as our eggs come from our farm. Beef and pork and chicken, not chicken, but everything else will come from our local butcher who sources as local as possible as well, until we can grow our own down the road. And our beef will hopefully come from our beef neighbors here as well, that we also help out down the road as well. So yes, it does help at changing your diet. Do I believe the vegan diet is healthy? I do. Do I believe it's for everybody? I do not. Do I believe that the vegan diet is good long term? No, but it depends where you live and what your genetics are. I do highly believe that not everybody can be vegan. For example, my genetics are Ukrainian, British, so it's very meat heavy, very cold climates, whereas somebody who lives more tropical and has that as an abundance of fruit and veg is definitely going to have an easier time being vegan than somebody who comes from a genetic background of surviving on meat and potatoes through their genetic background. And in colder climates where you need those meat, because 6 months of the year we can't grow vegetables here unless we really make it an indoor grow station somehow, and we have to import it all in. So there's things of looking at what can we do locally, and because we want to be sustainable. So we want to be able to get the meat for our diet as well as our vegetables all from our land, what we can grow here and eat based off of that. And yeah, do we still take supplements? We do. Our supplements are still vegan because I have a cupboard full of them still. Will they remain as vegan supplements? Probably not, because they are expensive and we eat animal products now. But it also depends, because some omegas, like if you're getting from fish, they're not as nutritionally dense as they're sold, whereas a vegan one would be. So just kind of looking at those pros and cons, and we'll dig more into those as we run out and need to look at other resources. But yeah, we are happy with our change. It has made a huge difference to our mental health and our physical health. Adam touches more on his mental health in his own video. And our kids have had a huge difference. My 2-year-old, not so much. She still loves her eggs, but she's 2. She's also breastfeeds, so she hasn't had a lot of real food that I can say that I can see a difference. Amelia is still struggling. Well, she doesn't struggle anymore. She loves bacon. But she's, when she eats a heavier meat diet as opposed to a heavier vegan diet, her attitude the next day is night and day. She's still 5. She still has tantrums. She still argues back and tests those boundaries. But it's a 10-minute conversation when she eats meat the day before on how to better understand her issues. So she'll scream and she'll shout, and we can calm her down and redirect her like 10 minutes. Whereas when she doesn't have meat for a couple of days, then she's screaming and shouting and having the hissy fit, and it takes an hour. So it's definitely a big difference. My son, his face is brighter. He's more energetic. He loves playing. Just like me, I can play with my kids. He wants to play with his siblings. He's engaged in so many things. He's not locked in his room. He's got so much more energy and joy and happiness in him and his energy that I was actually shocked it made such a difference to his personality and his energy levels. I thought, well, maybe he'll be a bit more energetic. Maybe he'll, I don't know, smile more. But it is such a huge difference from where he was just 6 months ago to where he is today, that I have no doubt in my mind that is because we switched diet, because that's what changed it. And yeah. So anyways, to stop me from rambling, I can go into more details on this. If anybody is interested, you can shoot me a message or whatever, and I'll be happy to discuss this with you in more detail. But the long story short is our health issues definitely improved. Please don't make excuses for yourself when it could be your health, especially if you are eating a vegan diet. Vegan diets can work really well for some people, and I fully believe that. And I do believe that the majority of people may start to see health issues within that 5 to 10 year range of being vegan. So is it long term for everybody? I do not think so. When you do your going vegan helped us understand the food industry a lot more and understand where our food came from, and has made us change how much of those animal products we eat, and also where we source them. Looking into local animals and of course growing our own, I have looked into the slaughter processes and requirements and hunting laws and fishing laws and everything that we have here in Alberta. And to say that they are amazing is an understatement. The amount of things that have to go into it, of how non-stressed the animal has to be, how you have to care for them, the amount of the procedures, everything like that was eye-opening to me on how they did it. So if you are vegan and you have only heard the vegan side of the terror of those terrible, terrible places, which I agree are terrible, terrible places, and nobody should ever pay money for those animals to go through what they go through, I do recommend looking into what the actual laws are in your area and understanding that that is not the norm. People that make money from their animals being part of the food chain will not treat their animals the way that they get treated, because they will be denied at the slaughterhouse, and it causes a lot of problems. Even activists feeding water to a pig causes so much issues on the other side when they cross over, that it delays a lot of things and actually stresses the animals out rather than actually caring for them, as the movement kind of says, oh, look, we're giving them water, we're caring for them, it's the first bit of love that they've had. It is so untrue, for the most part, except for, like, obviously there's still factory animals, but looking at factory animals versus your free range, living in nature as they should be type of animals. Now, can this sustainably feed the population at the volume of food that they eat right now in America and so on? No, no. We cannot do sustainably grown meat for the quantity that we currently eat it at, and everybody needs to eat less meat in their diet. But that's a whole other tangent, and I don't want to go down on that, but I do highly suggest that you look into it. I also looked into the rules and regulations that Lilydale even goes through for their transportation of animals, and what they need to look for before they are put on the trucks, what they need to look for while they are on the trucks, when they have to give them water, when they have to make stops, what they need to do when they get to the slaughterhouse, what they do when there are activists there, what happens when the activists intervene with the animals, what happens when they get onto the other side, and then what happens to the animals within the slaughterhouse. When you really look into it, you'll be quite surprised at what you'll learn. And I was very eye-opened to a lot of different things that I thought differently on not that long ago. So I will stop rambling here. That is our journey. Take the information you wish from here. Check out those other videos that I will link below. Check out my husband's video on his journey on mental health. But do look after yourself. Don't stick to something because somebody tells you that's what you should be doing. Do what is right for you and your family, and take care of yourselves as much as possible. We love you. Thank you for watching, and we will get back to our regular scheduled homesteading stuff now that we have kind of gone into this ramble of health, food, and diet. We'll probably touch more on sustainability as you see what we roll out here, and growing your own food, including meat, animals, down the road, as well as we start to learn that as well. We will share that information with you. All right. Love you guys. Take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.